joined by the beautiful and lovely Angela LaRosa. She is an occupational therapist, energy healer, and comedian here on Long Island. So everybody welcome Angela.
Thank you.
And so we like to kind of start off with a little bit about your background. And so you're an occupational therapist.
Yes.
And you're also an energy healer.
Mm-hmm.
So how did one lead to the other?
Yes, so I started my education in occupational therapy in about 1994. I just dated myself. And then as time went on, I was learning more and more about my gifts, being a medium. That actually started as a little girl. My mother knew of my gifts, and I didn't really know what they were until I got older. Occupational therapy is very much a healing occupation because you're working with your hands all the time. And I work with children, so when I work with children with autism, they don't really have language, so you're really communicating in a higher place with them. And they're able to communicate really through their eyes. They look very deeply into mine to understand and know that they're safe and what's expected of them. It's really exciting way to treat. Mm-hmm.
So you said your mom knew of your gifts when you were little. So
Yes.
how did you discover your gifts?
So I was a little girl and we had a spirit in our house. And this is where some of my comedy, this is actually in my comedy. So I would hear her footsteps and it was kind of like out of The Conjuring. We would paint, put up wallpaper. 5 years later, take the wallpaper down and her name would be there. And no, I'm not going to say her name because we don't want a Beetlejuice type situation happening here. But yes, her name would be there. And I said, oh my goodness, how am I going to tell my mother that I'm sensing this? Because I almost felt like there was something wrong with me. And I finally had to say to her, I'm like, Mom, you know, there's a spirit here. I might as well have said to her, can we have pizza for dinner? Because she looked at me and she was like, all right. And I was like, Mom, did you hear me? She said, Angie, you have gifts. And I was like, what does that mean? I was a little girl. So she said, Sia prayed over you. So we had an aunt with the black veil and the altar in the house, and you would go to her if you had an earache. She would put the glass, and she would always anoint you. The new and improved Sia, minus the black veil, insert black leggings. So that's where that comes. But yeah, my mother knew, and as years went on, I started to learn more and more and sense things. But it was after Kim Russo came to my house. For a gallery reading, she put me in touch with Pat Longo, and that's where I really started to learn that I'm a medium and a healer. And
That is awesome because both of them are my teachers.
You're kidding.
No, I had started off with Pat Longo.
Yes.
I went to Pat for a healing, and she's like, you know you're a medium, right? That explained my entire childhood. Right there.
Wow.
She's like, yeah, you're not crazy. You're psychic. You're a medium. And I started taking classes with her.
Mm-hmm.
And I had seen Kim. I went to one of her events.
Okay.
And then she had invited me to one of her to do a crash course. And I studied under her.
Amazing. She's amazing.
They're both wonderful.
Yes.
They're
Well,
both
Pat is a
wonderful.
longtime friend and mentor. And I worked with Kim as well over Zoom. She had a light workers. Did you do that one also?
No, I did not.
That was amazing, and she is just the epitome of what it means to be divinely driven,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so as you've honed your skills now.
Mm-hmm.
So you're doing energy work, you're an occupational therapist. Where does the comedy come in?
Oh, Janet, that's a great question because, so here's what happened. My son moved to LA. My daughter goes to school in Tampa, Florida, and I'm perusing Facebook. And I see a course on stand-up comedy. Now, the nerd that I am, I thought I was going to learn the theory of stand-up comedy. I thought I was going to learn how to write a joke or what it meant to do, or the history of stand-up comedy. And I get there, and John, who was our instructor, he says, no, in 9 weeks you're going to be on stage. And I was like, yeah, no. He was like, yeah, you're going to be on stage. So I was like, all right. So basically, I was left home alone, unsupervised. That's how I became a comedian. And then I said, you know, because I can be a little raunchy, a little bit. So I said, well, how is that going to marry with my healing and my peace be with you and that very important side to me? And then I realized that when I do my stand-up, it is healing.
Yes,
And it
laughter is great medicine.
yes, it very much is energy work, because you take people that are feeling kind of meh and you make them laugh and it raises them up.
Yeah.
So then, this is a little bit long, the story. So then I ran into Dawn Marie Angel Eyes, and I said, Dawn, you're not going to believe what I'm doing. I'm doing stand-up comedy. She was like, get out of here. I said, Dawn, how is this going to go together? She said, just keep doing it. And every medium that I spoke to said, keep doing it. About a month or so later, she calls me, you need to get in touch with Kristen Tinsley. She wants to put a show together. Stand-up comedians, we are comedians. Stand-up comedians that are also mediums. And there was born Ghosts and Giggles. So Kristen and I toured doing Ghosts and Giggles.
And with Ghost and Giggles, you and I are actually doing an event to raise money for a lovely young lady named Abby. She has a very aggressive bone cancer. So we are doing that event on October 17th here on Long Island. And that's at Let's Craft in Westbury. And we will give you more information towards the end of the program. But now we want to know how Angela defines peace. Personally, how do you define peace?
Well, I can tell you that I live peace. So that much I can tell you. Peace for me comes from within, and I'm very conscious of giving out peace and receiving only peace into me. So when I say something, before I speak to someone, I think about it in my head first, because I want to give out good vibrations to people. Because when you give out good vibrations, it's contagious. Then they give it to someone else, right? So it's, for me, it's not just defining it, it's living it.
I agree with that. I'm very conscious. You have to be careful with your words, because once they're said, they can't be taken back.
Right, right.
So
and they really do resonate with other people.
Yes.
Like when I go into work, I'm greeted by the security guard, and he's like, sunshine is here, because I walk into work and I'm like, have a great day, everybody. So it's giving out that peace, giving out that happiness, and people look for it and it resonates with them, and then they're ready to give it to someone else.
And that actually, how do you find peace? How do you bring, now that you shared that you live it, but how do you find that? How do you bring it to yourself?
I meditate a lot, and it's a lot easier. I love my children. My most precious thing to be in life is being a mother. But I have a lot of free time now, so I meditate in the morning. I meditate when I get home from work. I meditated before I came here today. So that's really where I'm centered. I'd love to go to the beach and ground at the beach. That is definitely a peaceful place for me. So I would say I find my peace that way. I'm also conscious of what I eat, eating clean. Since I started doing that, like no Burger King, no fast food. I'm trying to eat like low preservatives and things like that. I find it easier to find my peace because my body is just calmer. Do you find that as well?
Yes, and it is. I'm not as clean as I should be because I do like a good burger, but when it is cleaner, it does help to stabilize the center. So you just walked into the school building, so let's discuss how you bring peace to others. How do you help others find some peace?
So it really is funny because as I start to do this and send out, I'm finding teachers will actually say to me, Miss Angela, because that's what the kids call me, Miss Angela, I need something today, and I'll just go, and it's really intention, right? I am an energy worker, and really anyone has the ability to do this. And I'm sure you've all gone to a place and someone walks in and you go, oh, like the room just got cold. You can feel the energy in the room just change, right? Yeah. So I'm like the opposite. I walk into a room and I just bring love and light, and I fill the room that way. So teachers will actually look for me, or they'll say to me, can you come in the room and clear the room? You know, so I'll do some Reiki to clear the energy in the room, because we can't light sage in a school.
Wish we could.
Right. But it's also, I find the power of intention, right? Because, and this happened to me, I think you were on the show that I talked about this. I gave a rose quartz crystal to a friend of mine, and he's a teacher, so he's very cerebral. And when you talk about crystals, they can be a little woo-woo. Not everybody understands. Like, even my son said to me once, Mom, I understand that you communicate with the dead, but now you're talking to rocks. I draw the line. I draw the line. So, so with this crystal, I said, all right, I have to come at this another way, because he's concrete. He's a teacher. Yep. He doesn't come from the same 5D plane that I live on. So I said, okay, let's pretend I went to the store and I picked out this rock. Oh, rock for you. But I'm telling you that every time you look at this rock, I want you to remember how much I care about you. You are truly cared about, and I want you to have a beautiful day filled with light and love. And he goes, oh, I can understand that. So that made me realize we can spread our peace and love and light without always having to go woo-woo. We can bring it really concrete and just be like, you know what, I was thinking about you today, and spread it that way. Mm-hmm.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And when you work with the kids, because you know, that's a special arena within occupational therapy. Mm-hmm. My son has for many years seen PT, but I have a nephew. I have a cousin who's on the spectrum. He has Asperger's, and then my nephew is high functioning. We think more Asperger's than autism, but they're special. You have to communicate with them on a special plane. So you really gotta, like, there are some days where you don't know if or when that tantrum's coming. So how do you calm the kids down?
Okay, so you're absolutely right. And the thing with occupational therapy is that we don't have a formula. I can't necessarily write a lesson plan and think I'm going to stay with it. It's a very fluid room. And I have to read the child as they come into the room. And I call myself like a little detective. How are they coming in? So I'm reading their aura and their energy at that moment. And I'm going to see, can I work with them at the table? Do we have to switch it up? I have a child that's very high functioning autism that I work with. And he came in one day and he was like, I'm angry. I was like, okay, I don't want to do anything today. I said, okay. So what did I do? I said, let's put on some music. So I have 4 children in that group. I put music on, we danced around the room for about a minute and a half, and then we got back to the table. So I raised his vibration because he was here, right? He didn't want to participate. He was verbally telling me he was not happy about his day already. It was 9 o'clock in the morning. Were your Fruit Loops soggy? Like, what happened, right? But this is how it is. And it might just be that his sock was folded wrong in his sneaker. We really don't know what it was that set them off. So I said, let me just start very basic. Let's raise the vibration. The kids were so cute that day. They gave each of them a nickname. So he became Big Lee that day. There was Big Lee. There was Cool J. They named me Fancy. I can't understand why they would call me Fancy, but they did. So just raising vibration does that. You know, we're in a school. So I'm very careful not to talk woo-woo at all in a school. I really draw the line. However, mindfulness is allowed in a school, and it's very important. And I found that during COVID, how important it was to teach kids things that they could do. Teach them to regulate their own system while they're sitting in a chair, because they couldn't get up.
No.
Remember, during COVID, they had to sit. So I was doing chair yoga with them. I was doing deep breathing. I was doing hot chocolate breathing.
That one is new.
That's a new one. So you breathe in hot, H-O-T, and then breathe out chocolate. And I would spell it out for them. Another little girl brought in numbers because she does like Taekwondo, and she would go, you breathe in 1, breathe out 1, breathe in 2. So it became like a lot of consciousness, teaching them to go within. The school that I'm in now, kids are very high functioning, and I even have some kids that are just developmentally delayed. They have some motor weakness, and things like that. So I'm able to work with them on a higher plane as well.
That is very amazing.
It's soul fulfilling. I go to work every day and I love what I'm doing. So I'm grateful. I've been working with children for over 30 years, and I'm grateful every single day to make a difference.
And gratitude also brings us up.
Yeah.
Brings us up. And one of my favorite questions to ask is, what's in your toolbox? Now, you've given us some of the things that you do with the kids and some that you do with the adults. So I'm going to throw your own kids into the mix.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
So your son or daughter,
Yeah.
mom, ba 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 ba, like
Yeah.
think high school drama. I'm in it, so I get
Yeah.
it. What would be in your toolbox to try and get them to be calm and peaceful and just let it go?
So it's funny that you talk about that, because kids come like they're vibing high, and I would be in my very peaceful Zen place. So my daughter would come in and she would be like, Mom, and she'd want to tell me a story, and I'd be like, oh, you're killing my vibe. I'll never forget that. Even like driving them to school, you know, who wants to go to school? They're in like 10th grade, right? They don't want to go to school, they're cranky, whatever. And I would be like, oh, you're killing my vibe. That's not allowed. And they would laugh about it. But as far as bringing them in, I think the challenge was bringing them in to talk. So even if it was 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning, my bedroom door was always open. And if they came in, and it was often, Mom, I'd go put on the light, and I would sit up, and no matter how tired I was, you know, like one eye open, I always made it a point that when they were ready to talk, to be present. Because they don't want to talk when I want to. They don't want to talk at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, nor did they want to do homework at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it was always like 9 o'clock when I'm ready for bed. But yeah, so there were lots of nights like that where we would just sit on the bed and talk. Or 1 o'clock, Mom, can we order Domino's? I'm like, sure, because again, now it's an opportunity to talk.
Yep.
So did I want to eat Domino's as I'm talking about eating clean? Notice the eating clean came after like we got the LA and we have the Tampa, Florida. Now I can eat clean. But back then I was like, I didn't care what they wanted to eat. I didn't care what we were going to talk about. It was just about being present. And I had music going a lot. Music saved us a lot in our life, actually.
Yes.
Like
music is a wonderful equalizer when you find the right one for everybody.
That was my son. We were moving from Massapequa back to Farmingdale, and we were all like, we were okay, but we were trying to figure out what was going on. And he became the DJ, and he actually was an audio technician. He went to Five Towns College, and then he went out to LA. But yeah, he would play music for us, and the Bob Marley song, Three Little Birds, that became our family mantra. And music really got us through too.
And music brings a lot of peace. And wondering if you could do us a favor, because comedy, as you mentioned, also brings us peace.
Yes.
And as we mentioned earlier, we are doing the Angels for Abby event on October 17th in Long Island. It's in Westbury at Let's Craft. And for more detailed information about me and Angela and Dawn Marie Delahunt, who is Dawn Angel Eyes Marie, who will also be at the event, you will want to go to letscraft.org/Angels for Abby. That's letscraft.org/Angels for Abby. I will be doing healings in that event, and Angela and Kristen will be doing Ghosts and Giggles.
Yes, we will be. And we'll be doing readings as well. A number of us will be doing psychic readings. And Dawn's going to do a piece on law of attraction and manifesting. So it's going to be a full event.
It will be, and it's from 6 to 10. 6 to 10. And would you give us a little taste
of my comedy for that night?
Yes.
I feel like I've been throwing pieces in here and there, but sure, not like I'm being put on the spot or anything, but I have not a problem. So I'll tell you a little story. First of all, everything I say is true. Believe it or not, everything I say is true. And I tell people when I go out with them, like for dinner or whatever, anything you say can and will be used on a stage near you. So I have full disclosure that if you do something, it's gonna happen. So my mother moved to Boca. Now, we are not Boca Raton people. My father was a mechanic. My brother was a mechanic. My other brother was a mechanic. No relation to Marissa Tomei, but we have all mechanics in the family. So, so we were not of this. Like, these people are millionaires. But my father worked very hard. She could afford to live there. So one day I'm on the phone with my mother. And my mother is 85, but she's a very good 85. Like, she still wears rhinestones on the coolie. The hair is always done, but she has a tell, her earrings. So I'm on FaceTime with her. And I says, Ma, where are you going? You have your earrings in. Where are you going? She says, oh, I'm going to Shabbat. I says, Ma, we're not Jewish. She says, I know, but I like the wine. That's my mom. That's my mom. Yeah. So no, we are Italian Catholics, but this is what I live with. Then another day she calls me. My mother believes wholeheartedly in everything that we do as healers, as mediums, everything. So she calls me one day and she says, Angie, you have to do something. Your brother is in a very important training program and he's passing a kidney stone. I says, Ma, what would you like me to do? Call Jesus, Mary, or Joseph? Right? So she goes, I don't know, you have to do something. I says, all right, I'll pray. So I start to pray to God to help my brother. And if you think about a kidney stone is jagged, right?
Yeah.
So I asked God to coat the kidney stone in mucus because that was the only bodily fluid. Keep it clean. This is a G-rated show. The only bodily fluid that I could think of that would coat the kidney stone and allow it to pass easily. So the next day, my brother calls me and he goes, Ange, I heard you covered my kidney stone in sputum. It's a big brother. I was like, well, I asked God. I'm only the vessel. God does the work. God does the work. He goes, well, I felt no pain. So again, that's like a lesson for us. So when we do our comedy, it's always a story. And it's a story of clients that come to us. It's a story of obviously peace, love, and light, healing messages. But there's always a moral there to teach us all about our guides. I have a story about me being single. Do you want me to?
No.
I think that's enough.
So if you want to know the
you gotta
single
pay.
story,
you have to come and pay and help Abby to hear the rest of the story.
Thank you, Angela.
You're welcome.
And I want to thank everybody for joining us for Unique Peace today. And we hope to see you at Angels for Abby on October 17th at Let's Craft.